miles off, but just the purpose and conviction we showed against Leicester on the second half in particular. We didn't really get to that level in the first half. We let a soft goal in. We pressed really well for our goal, which was part of the intention of the team performance. So I was pleased with that. But it wasn't a mile off. We just looked just a little bit jaded, which is to be expected. These players are putting an awful lot of an effort in that, with very short numbers, very low numbers. So a lot of them are having to go game after game after game. So I'll excuse the first half as being just slightly off, and then the second half, I thought we really took the game on. Against a very strong Arsenal side. I know they've lost 11 this season, but they're still a good outfit, that's for sure. They've still got 10 players and they can still be effective. And so I'm pleased overall in a way that we continued to take the game on. We just threw a bit of a lazy leg at it. Not really that sort of urgency that you need, but that certainly flooded back in later on in the game, which I'm sure you'll ask about. But then, the top level that he's at now, he questions himself. He doesn't need to question. He's so honest, in his professionalism. He's at a top level now. There's no two ways about it. So when you're at his level of the market, he'll be thinking he could just get a stronger, or not a strong out. I think he does get a strong out on it, but then tough because Conte's just had an almost identical situation at Liverpool. They have to find parity somewhere. We've got to be careful talking about penalties because Matej Vidra gets caught on his foot and we get nothing, and we've got the lowest penalty rate in the Premier League season on season. It's a penalty for me only because of this reason. I don't want them penalties to be given, by the way. But the way the game is now, you touch someone's shoulder, their leg's buckled, and apparently it's a penalty. Matej Vidra gets turned, goes to shoot. The leg clearly touches his foot. I've seen it back. It deviates his foot from striking the ball properly, but he doesn't fall over, he doesn't scream. Screaming's a new big thing, by the way. It's interesting that today. They don't have a volume on it, see how loud people can scream and then see if they get a free kick for that. But he doesn't do that, he doesn't do any of that, and we get nothing. So, got to be careful, I think, the game has. I've mentioned it many, many times, and I think we've just got to be a bit careful where it's going.
Does that mean
in that the demand for all these things to go for you can go out of balance? The one for MP is I don't think his arm is a natural. I think Kante's was just the same the other day. I think there's a big debate on handball, and I don't certainly want penalties to be given when it's more like ball to hand. It's not an extremely unnatural position. The big VR moment is quite clear. The only gripe I've got is I don't know why Andre Mariner I think he's a top ref, and I don't know why he's got his card up within a millisecond. That was interesting. I don't know whether he was trying to read what he thought he saw or not, because I think he's a top referee and I think he's good today. So I thought at that time, I'm not sure that is. I was a long way from it, but it didn't look, the reaction of our players, not always, but often. I think we've got honesty to the way we react, and you could tell by our players' reaction that they thought it didn't hit his arm. And the good side of it is VAR does its job. That's what it's there for. We know it has to be streamlined. We know it has to be sort of more detailed, but it is there for them moments, and it's the right decision. I don't know why he tried to play on because he said it was time getting worse, which is a strange one. I'd much prefer him to say I need to come off. We'll wait and see with that one. We've got the Everton game, and then we've got, in the marvel of the Premier League fixture planning, they've got 3 weeks off instead of 2. So that's probably a head scratching for all of us, why we've had all these games crammed in when we could have had a game, at least one game, if not 2, put in that period. But Sailor B, I actually told you a story of Preston's new passing 7 years ago when I promoted the idea to Soccer AM. And it's something that I've always believed in. I think the way the game's operating now, there's going to be a counter-action to everything. So your teams want to play it outside from there, literally inside their own box, then in my opinion, get on the front foot and go and chase them. That's just my belief. It doesn't mean it works every time, but it did today. So the mentality to do that is important. The physical demands of the players is important, and also the tactical understanding. And I thought we did that a lot today very well. I mean, we turned the ball over in high areas. We were productive in strong moments, particularly second half. So there's a real purpose to our play. Now it's difficult. Sometimes teams manage to play out their presses, and you've got a lot of these lads. You shake things off quickly. I mean, it wasn't. By the way, it was a soft moment from a top goalkeeper. It wasn't a bad moment, in my opinion. One that he'd normally save, in his opinion, by the way, not in mine actually. Now he gets a good enough hand on it, but no, his mentality is solid as a rock, and that's a massively important thing for a keeper. I mean, you've got to remember himself and Tom Eaton, I bought them here after they got relegated, but the reason why I bought them here is because of that, because they've dealt with it. they'd gone on with it, they'd conceded goals, had a team that relegated, yet their performance level stayed high, their belief in doing the right thing stayed high. That's part of the makeup of top players, let alone top goalkeepers. You've got to respond to anything that happens in the game, and you've got to deal with it and focus on your performance. And I thought Pope was excellent other than that. He didn't have too many saves to make, actually, but all of his handling, his positional sense continues to improve. He's always aggressive from his line, and I think that's improved as well. Like I say, just slightly off in the first half amongst the whole team performance that was off. But second half, working, harrying, connecting with each other. You know, I always think when two strikers start connecting, you're on something, and they did that in the second half. And, you know, like I say, probably just short of getting a real reward for it, as against Leicester as well, the chances we created. But there's a lot better signs of the quality of chances that I've been speaking about all season, and we are getting more and more productive. He might have a chance next weekend. We'll have to wait and see. Chaz, obviously, will wait on more news. I think he's gone off quicker rather than slower as regards the injury, so we're hopeful that settles down quickly. But 3 in a week again, you see, we're playing these players for a lot of an ask, and we're sort of being pushed into it a little bit by the fixture schedule. That calms down now. And as I said, the head scratcher is in the answer to international break, we've suddenly got 3 weeks off rather than 2 because we haven't got a game, believe it or not. So there lies the fixture plumbers. No, it's got to the right decision. You know, I'm a fan of it. I know it needs streamlining, tidying up, but I'm a big fan of it, and that for that reason. Tonight, Burnley fans know our history with Arsenal. We've had last-minute goals that were handball. We've had last-minute goals that were offside, and that cost us. And today it didn't, rightly so, because the right decision came out in the end. And, yeah, you're right. I mean, people forget great habits from Eric Peters. He stood strong. He's took one for the team, and it hits the bar and goes away. And I say VAR, a minor gripe, but I think. We just see some incredibly soft penalties that I just think should never be given in a million years. And yet, Vince gets tapped on his foot today, clearly deviates him from striking the ball properly on a goal-scoring chance, and no penalty. You know, and you think, well, how come people get touched on the shoulder and the legs buckle then? How's that happening? I can't. I find it unfathomable now, the penalty situation, to be honest, in the game. From the screaming, some real good screaming stuff. I mean, on the screamometer, probably the highest I've heard for a long time, and there's some pretty high ones. So, yeah, that was new to me, or a new level of screaming today. They are not adding screaming to any particular player, so that needs to be made clear. The game in general, I thought, was full of that, and I think it's a nonsense, but no one seems bothered about these things with me. Regarding the incident when it's a penalty, my point is, I don't believe they should be penalties. But we never get them, and everyone else does. So that's just my point. You can look at our record stats every year, lowest by a mile in the Premier League year on year. And sure enough, a tap on the foot goes missing today. I just think we play against certain teams and certain players. If that tap on the foot is on a certain player, I'll bet you any money they get a penalty. We don't. Historically, we don't. We don't generally, and we don't today. So I don't actually want them penalties to be given. To be clear, I don't want penalties to be given when someone gets touched on the shoulder and their legs buckle, but they do get given. I don't want penalties to be given when it would never be given in a million years in the middle of the pitch, but they do get given. And then our turn comes, lo and behold, we don't get a penalty. So that's just the reality of it.